Good morning to all my students. Today I am going to discuss a very catchy and very interesting topic with all of you, and I hope that you are going to like my lecture. And the topic of the lecture is going to be why dialogue matter. Why dialogue is so important. The conversation, the communication which we always make between ourselves, between one person with others, or between different governments, or between different communities, or between different friends. We always evolve dialogue in our daily routine and in our daily lives, because it matters a lot to us. So why dialogue matters? First, I am going to understand what is actually dialogue. Dialogue is a communication between people or groups of people, such as governments or political parties, academic dialogue, community dialogue, person-to-person dialogue, or dialogue or communication. So you have a lot of dialogue is actually happening on daily basis. There can be a dialogue. When we talk about the dialogue, it is a communication between two people or more than two people, or between between groups of people, such as governments. Because, for example, it can be a dialogue between two persons who may be friends, and they want to discuss some issue. Similarly, there can be a dialogue between the government, between one government with another government, on a particular issue, on a very genuine issue, in order to create a kind of compatibility and a friendship, or to trying to make relationship better. And therefore the governments are interested in meaningful, constructive, and concrete dialogue. And therefore same thing could happen at community level. It could happen also at academic level. We have the different academic institutions, and where we discuss multiple issues, where we have a critical debate, discourse, and dialogue. And that is very important in order to reach on truth. And therefore dialogue is very important. It is mandatory, it is necessary for all of us, for for the entire world. The people who are living on planet, they cannot survive, they cannot have a good life, they cannot have a happy life, they cannot have a meaningful life without having a dialogue. Because it is the dialogue which is going to pay a way forward for them, that they have to remove all kinds of differences, and to think that we have to think on common grounds. Because, and we have to create some sort of compatibility, we have to create good relations, and that is really important. Because if there are mistrust, if there are confusion, if there are unfriendly relations, then definitely that is going to kill you inside, and that is going to affect you by one way or other. And therefore dialogue plays a very important role. There can be also a dialogue between the religions, worldly religions. For example, dialogue between Islam versus other religions. There can be a dialogue between Judaism versus other religions. There can be a dialogue between Hinduism versus other religions. So dialogue is a very important thing in order to create a peaceful coexistence, in order to create a peaceful world, in order to respect the diversity of culture, the racial, multi races, and different races and different cultures, different ideas. And therefore we have to different identities which we have in every country. Therefore dialogue plays a very important role in order to acknowledge every idea, every belief, every faith, and every identity. Because in a multicultural society, most of the countries, they are multicultural, multidimensional, and multi-ethnic societies. And therefore if there are some eruptions, if there are some differences, if there are some problems, and those problems could be only transformed by evolving the dialogue, by evolving the meaningful dialogue, by evolving the constructive dialogue. Because dialogue matters, because dialogue is important, because dialogue is a necessary evil. It is very important, it is necessary for all of us to create a better world, for all of us. And when I am talking about dialogue, it is about creating common ground, common interests. Why people are interested in dialogue? Because of the reason they are trying to find out the ways and means to reach on the common ground, and they want to find out how we can achieve the common interests, how we can rectify the weaknesses, how we can remove the weaknesses which were there from the last many decades or many years. For example, if there is a conflict between one state with another state, and that conflict is a protracted conflict or the prolonged conflict or a long-standing conflict, that also can be transformed, and that also can be managed by means of the dialogue. And dialogue is very important in order to prevent the war type of situations, and it is better to go for dialogue at early stage, because that is what the peace study is all about, that to create peace by evolving the methods of dialogue. And dialogue plays a very constructive and very important role. And to my understanding, a peaceful planet will remain a kind of illusion without a constructive and meaningful dialogue. This is my understanding, that a planet where we live, on which we live, this peaceful planet could not be achieved, cannot be achieved without it would remain illusion, it would remain a myth, it would remain a chimera without evolving a constructive and meaningful dialogue. Because dialogue is important in order to rectify all the kind of differences which may be there between one community with another community, between one religion with another religion, between one culture with another culture, between one government with another government, between one country with another country. And this is going to create a peaceful world, and this is going to create a progressive world. This is going to create a vibrant and more successful planet and more peaceful planet, where all the people could live together, trying to eradicate number of issues with the humanity is confronted with, whether it is the issue of poverty, whether it is the issue of food crisis, whether it is the issues of environmental issues, or whether it is the issue of global terrorism, or many other issues, or the human rights issues. All the issues could be resolved once the people are trying to engage themselves in dialogue, in debates, in discussions. And because it is the only means, and it is the first means also in politics, that we have to have a sweet words and sweet tongue. And therefore recently you have seen the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. He visited to Samarkand, and where he also put emphasis on dialogue, and he encouraged the President Putin that you need to in the context of Ukraine, he was talking that we need to you can make a you can reduce this conflict once you are trying to evolve the dialogue, and only through dialogue means you can resolve the Ukraine and the Russian conflict. Similarly, there are multiple conflicts in the world, that may be a Palestine versus Israel conflict, or maybe Pakistan versus India conflict, or maybe other conflicts in the world, where the dialogue can play a very crucial role. It can play a very important role, without going to for the option of war, and without going to create tension, more tensions. And therefore the first possibility and first means and first method in politics always starts from dialogue, from negotiation, for deliberation, and from a constructive and meaningful or concrete dialogue is very crucial. It is very immense. It plays an immense role in order to in order to make this world a more peaceful, more progressive, and more peaceful planet. So therefore dialogue has an immense importance. It has a significant importance. It has a lot of significance. It has a lot of relevance in our daily lives. It is also necessary for all the communities, for all the nation states to indulge in or to engage in dialogue. It is only through the dialogue means that we can create a better planet. So now the question can be raised, when we are in a peaceful, effective dialogue, we are allowing or we are encouraging to other party to make his point of view, or to make his put his perspective, and therefore he can express, or they can express themselves, they can express their emotions. And simply I can say that the dialogue is always a welcome setup for creating for a common ground and common interests. So then also there can be dialogue on multiple issues. For example, number of issues could be resolved by evolving dialogue in a meaningful way. For example, there may be a border conflicts between the nation states, and then there can be ideological disputes, there can be racial and cultural differences, and there can be professional and academic disputes. All differences could be resolved, could be transformed, could be minimized by using the dialogue in a real way. And let me just tell you directly to all of you, what are actually the advantages and what are actually the benefits of the meaningful dialogue. Let me just tell you by one. Dialogue is a pathway for common ground. It is always a pathway for a common ground. So it creates a commonalities. So once we are interested in dialogue, we have to be able to discuss, to search out the common grounds. The commonalities plays a very important role in order to make the dialogue successful. So we cannot be discussing more differences, rather than we should be able to discuss more on commonalities, on common grounds, and that is going to make the dialogue process very successful. And the common interests, and therefore we can say the common purpose, dialogue is necessary, it is mandatory for common purpose, for example, listening to each other, exploring new ideas. It is also very important when we are in dialogue, we are able to hear or to listen another party. And that is very important. That is the beauty of the good dialogue, that you should be a good listener also, that what another party actually says. So then tackling and resolving big issues, crisis situation. So dialogue could be also a crisis management method, since the humanity is in a crisis situation everywhere in the globe, and they could find out that dialogue is the only means. Because after wars you have the stories of trauma, after wars you have the stories of destruction of properties, you have the after wars you have the killings and massive human rights violations. Therefore it is better for the nation states, for everyone, for all of us on this planet, to choose the option of dialogue at early stage, and it is going to make a real difference. It is going to make a bigger change in our contemporary society. And therefore I can say dialogue plays a very huge role. It plays a very important role in transforming all kinds of conflicts, imbroglios, disputes and differences. And very important point which I am going to make it here is actually mistrust can be removed and it could be minimized. Because if there is mistrust, if there is confusion between one party with another party, that mistrust is not good. That could create more conflicts, that could create more differences. And therefore dialogue, if we will evolve dialogue there, then definitely it is going to make a change, and that mistrust or confusion could be avoided. And that is the beauty of the real dialogue. And also the better experiences could be learned or could be shared while we are in a position to use the method of dialogue. Because in politics, what is the dialogue is the first method, and war is the last resort. And we will focus more on dialogue, because dialogue will protect our succeeding. It will protect our succeeding generations. It will protect our posterity. It will also protect our present generations, because it is going to protect this entire globe or this entire planet. Once we will be able to hear one another and to respect one another. And dialogue is also very important in order to respect, to give respect to others, to hear someone's issues, their problems in a very calm way. And finally I can say peace could be achieved, peace could be merely achieved, it could be only achieved. This is the only way, to my understanding, that peace could be only achieved once we would be able, in a real sense, to evolve dialogue, to evolve constructive dialogue, to evolve meaningful dialogue, to evolve the concrete dialogue, so that we could be able to establish peace, where there are conflict, uh, you know. Uh, um, and also, this dialogue could be also used, for different purposes, in order to bolster, the bonds and relationship between the different communities, between different groups, between different cultures, between different religions, between different people, so between different governments. So that bond could be only achieved, that relationship could be only, changed in a very positive sense, so that peace could be only achieved by using the dialogue, so therefore war is not the option. Therefore I want to at last, end my lecture by the remarks of the Jimmy Carter, the president of United States of America. He says, war may sometimes be a necessary evil, but no matter how necessary it is, always an evil, never a good, never a good. We will not learn how to live together in peace by killing each other's children. Thank you so much for hearing my lecture. See you next time.